So who can remind me, what are the 4 major characteristics that we use to classify organisms into kingdoms?
Name.
No. 4 major characteristics that we use to classify. Mobility. No, 4 major. That's an additional. In addition. Chemical. No, that's in addition. How they feed. How they feed, or if they make their own food. Okay, mobility, feeding, nuclear condition, and cellular condition. So for each kingdom, I'm going to go over those things. All right? So and I'm going to describe a little bit about the kingdom. So Archaebacteria, these are bacteria that live in extreme harsh environments. Like, for example, anybody know what that picture in the middle is? Underwater hydrothermal vents. Okay, you're going to find this type of bacteria there, or in like deep swamps, or areas where life really doesn't thrive and they find a way. So, nuclear condition for bacteria. We know this from previous chapter. What is it? Prokaryotes. All bacteria are prokaryotes. Most bacteria are what? Uni or multi? Uni. If I put the word most on the test, that they're going to be unicellular. You're not going to have to know that. Sometimes they're not. Okay? But of course I'm letting you know. Most of them live in colonies. Do you know what that means? Together. Okay? That's a defense strategy. Anybody that lives in colonies has a higher chance of survival. How do they feed? Archae. A for archae. A for autotrophs. That's how the kingdoms were divided. They feed through a process called chemosynthesis. They use chemicals and they convert them into food chemicals. Chemicals that they find in the hydrothermal vents, and they convert them to food chemical. Which is what? What's a food chemical? Glucose. Good. Sugars. And are they motile? Yes. Most have the ability to move. They have structures called flagella, and I know you can't read that word, so go ahead and write it down. Which we learn when we learn the parts of the cell. Or what other thing can be used for movement? Cilia, good. And you see it right there in this organism. Our next kingdom is Eubacteria. Eubacteria and Archaebacteria used to make up what kingdom? Monera. Okay? They used to be one kingdom. What separated them was they discovered a difference and a variety of organisms that fell into an individual kingdom. So they separated. Eubacteria, that's the bacteria we know of today. Like all the bacteria that causes us harm, those are bacteria that are heterotrophic, or most are decomposers. They feed off other things, okay? Again, they're still organisms without a nucleus. That's one thing they have in common. You're going to see that a lot of my organisms in the kingdom have a lot of common characteristics. There's only one thing that differentiates them, and that's how you separate a kingdom. Most are unicellular, so again, another common characteristic. And most move. So the only difference between Archaea and Eubacteria is the method of feeding, and think of A for Archaea, A for autotroph. So my next kingdom is Protista, or Protist. They are most complex single-celled organisms. As we move up from, if you notice, I'm going to go back a slide, and you can add this to your notes too. When I introduce the kingdoms, here, as you move up the kingdoms, you get more complex. So Archaea is the least complex, and what would be the most complex? Animalia. Now if I asked you, what is the most complex single-celled organism? Protista, because when we get here, we're multicellular, okay? So the first 3 are single-celled, the last 3 are multicelled. And I'm going to teach you different ways that you could study this. But as you go up the kingdoms, complexity changes. So Protista are my most complex single-celled organisms. Pro or you? You. The only organisms without a nucleus are bacteria. That's it. Single-celled or multi-celled? Right. Mostly single-celled. Again, you could scratch out this word and put most, because that's all you have to know on the test. And we'll just scratch that out, even though you can't say I never told you, right? And how do they feed? Look at the picture and tell me. I'm zooming in for you. How do you know? Good, there's a chloroplast. Now look at the other picture. They're both, and that you have to know. This kingdom has both autotrophs and heterotrophs. And there's so many of them that you can't just say most. There's literally a flat-out division of them. You have photosynthetic protists, you have fungus-like protists, which are like decomposers, and you have animal-like protists, which are just consumers. And they can move. That should say motile, not mobile, okay? Fungi. What can you tell me about fungi? Prokaryotic or eukaryotic? You. Everybody else after the first two is eukaryotic. Automatically start studying that way. Some are single, but most multi. So we're just going to scratch this out and we're going to focus on the multicellular. I'm making it easy for you, okay? Because realistically, most fungi are multicellular. How do they feed? They're heterotrophs. They are mostly decomposers as well. They break down food. And can they move? No. And that should say non-motile. One day I'll fix these notes. Plants. My plant kingdom, cellular condition, nuclear condition. Eukaryotic. Single or multi? Multicellular. Auto or hetero?
Auto.
What's the process called?
Photosynthesis.
And can they move?
No.
No. And of course, there goes that word. No, they can't. They respond to stimuli. That's not really considered a moving organism or a motile organism. It's a response. They respond to light. They respond to touch. They respond to water. Animalia. Say it quickly. Eukaryotes. Multicellular. Keep going. Heterotrophic. And motile. We know we can move. And again, one day I will fix these notes. For this unit, you learn general characteristics of each kingdom. Eventually, we're going to go and learn about each kingdom, and we're going to learn about phylums within the kingdom. Then you're going to learn about class, order, family, genus, species. Let's say it together. Ready?
Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
Don't look.
Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
Sounded good to me. Now, anybody know what our kingdom is? Animalia. Anybody know what our phylum is? Chordata. And you could label this your classification. That's your phylum. You're going to learn about it. I'm telling you, I'm introducing only general characteristics of each kingdom, and then we're going to learn every single kingdom's phylums, class, but you're only going to really learn your kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. We have not learned about chordata.
Isn't that like your spine?
No, it has something to do with your cord, which eventually develops into a spine in some chordates. Some chordates don't even have a spine. So we're going to learn all the characteristics of chordates, and we're going to learn other classes before that. Phylums. What's our class? Has to do with milk.
Mammals.
Mammalia. Order. This is where you never learn, so I'll just expose them. Primates. Family. Hominidae. And we never saw the video of Lucy. I should show you that. Homo, and what's the bottom? I didn't know that. Sapien. Good.